The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swap in this blue beast right here that I picked up, and it's just another random Getrag with unknown history, but I picked it up for $150, okay? So how can you beat that? So I'm going to swap this transmission in and just note any changes in severity or the speed that the vibration comes on, just any changes at all. What's going on, guys? It's ya boy Greg Peters, Miata Dad with the Car Passion Channel, and today's video, in case you couldn't tell already, it's going to be a little bit different format, and it probably comes as no surprise that today I'm going to be swapping a transmission. So I don't want this to turn into like a huge production where it takes me 14 hours to film a video, and I think I have enough how-to transmission swaps on my channel, so I'm just going to take you guys with me on the GoPro, and we'll have a little fun swapping a transmission. So all I've done, get all my tools and stuff out. Everything is still in place here, and getting ready to spend some time underneath the car pulling that thing out and replacing it with another one, and hoping that it is the solution to my vibration issue. Although I'm not super optimistic because it's just another used transmission, so it might be the same exact thing, but for research purposes it'll at least tell me something. It's worth a try, and the new transmission only cost me 150 bucks, so why not? Go ahead and start by dropping the downpipe off the turbo, loosen up that V-band. Grab that O2 sensor, and then this rear clamp on the downpipe. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love V-band. Clearly I need to rewrap the downpipe. That's the wrapping that protects the slave cylinder on the BMW trans, since it's pretty close to the downpipe. And a lot of you have probably heard some exhaust leaks in my videos. That is the primary leak right there. My flex pipe is absolutely shredded, and I want to put a new one in until I can get the whole exhaust kind of redone so it sits higher, and then it won't scrape as much and it won't tear up the flex pipes. Now that I got extra room to work with, go ahead and drop this drive shaft out of here. One drive shaft, please. Get these transmission mounts loosened up. What are you doing? You want to help? You trying to help? Can you bring me some tools? Next is to remove the transmission mount. So first is to remove the 8 nuts right there, and then we'll have to go inside the car and pull the carpet up to get those bolts out. Alright, so you can basically just pull up your carpet on the passenger side here, and that's how you gain access to the bolts. And what you can do is just come to the passenger side, pull all 4 of these bolts out, and then you can drop the mount, and you don't have to deal with pulling up the carpet on both sides. Now you can see the right bolts are out, the left ones are still in, but you can just drop the mount off. That way you can leave those in. The bolts will stay in place. It can be a little tricky to tighten the nuts without access to the other side, but if you want to save some time, technically you don't have to pull the carpet up on the driver's side. I'll go ahead and remove this shifter rod here. Oh god. Alright, pee. Where did that thing go? Oh, nice try. There we go. Just gotta get it up there, out of the way-ish. Oh, I need more power. All right, we got one tricky one. It's all the way on the top. Just got to get a nice long extension. And there it is right there. Not too difficult to get to. Now the last two 10mm Allens, I'm just going to crack those loose to relieve their initial torque, and then I'll support the trains with a jack, then remove those bolts so we can drop this bad boy. You don't want to remove all the transmission bolts without having the transmission supported, because you don't want this thing to slide out and land on your face, because that would be painful. Alright, that should be our last bolt there. I think this thing's ready to come out, but I'm definitely going to need two hands. So, oh, what if I did this? Whoa! Here's my exhaust. I'm going to try to put the GoPro inside the exhaust. Alright, hopefully you guys can see something. Oh, there's also a chance that I forgot a bolt. Did I? Yep, I missed one. There are two up on top. That's the other one right there. Should have looked closer. Now, we're ready to go. Huh, are we ready to go? She says, yeah. Can you throw this a couple thousand times first, please? You're dangerous. You shouldn't be so close. Indifferent. All right, I'm gonna load you guys back up in the exhaust system here. Now, if this looks sketchy, it's because it is, but I remembered where the center of mass is on the transmission, so I know just where to put this thing. I should really use a transmission jack for this, but oh well, YOLO. And that is it, ladies and gents. There we go. I'll have to look at the timestamps on the video clips for when I started, but I think it was around 10:50. So that's an hour and 37 minutes. Not exactly rushing, but dropping the Getrag is, I would say, a little bit easier and quicker than a Miata transmission, especially without the PPF, but not bad either way. If you've never dropped a transmission, you can do it. Save yourself the money. Forget the shop. They're gonna charge you hundreds of dollars in labor just to swap that clutch. You're learning how to do it right here, right now. So there it is, the Blue Beast. As you can see, I've already made the cutout for the starter. I've already trimmed off the rear tabs, and I already made room for my 3-inch downpipe the same way that I did with the original one. I just have to swap over the throwout bearing, get the adapter on the back, and then swap over the little CNC shifter piece. But I am faced with a bit of a dilemma here. So I've got this ACT full face clutch in my car. It's the HD pressure plate sprung full face disc from the E46, and it's holding the power fine. It holds the power in all scenarios except for one, and that is flat shifting. It's just too much like snap torque and this clutch instantly slips when I do it. Otherwise, it holds the power fine. So, the question is, do I install this? So this is a 6-puck sprung hub disc that's a direct swap into that clutch. And this is rated for another, it's like another 130 or 110 foot-pounds or something. So this thing, plus it's a more aggressive friction material. So this thing will definitely hold up with flat shifts. I don't know if I want to change it. It's like that much extra work, but the trans is already out. I kind of just want to get this thing back in there and see how it is. Probably going to get a ton of hate for not swapping that thing in right now. It's already all apart. But I think in the long run, I'm going to go ZF anyways. And I'm afraid that if I put this aggressive disc in here and start flat shifting and just absolutely ripping it, that I'm going to blow my diff up, specifically the housing. I think I'm going to leave it. I don't think I'm going to put it in. I mean, what was that? An hour and 20 minutes to drop that? It's no big deal if I want to go back and change it. So it is about 3:30 now. Daylight is going quick. Had to take a lunch break and get some transmission fluid for this bad boy. So gotta fill this. Like a 17mm Allen wrench in here. Oh wow. Way too tight on that one. So one cool thing about the Getrag is you can fill it on the ground, since unlike the Miata trans, it is sealed up at the back when it's out of the car, so there's nowhere for transmission fluid to leak out of except for the breather port. But as long as you don't fully tip it like upside down, you're fine. So let's get this thing filled up. It's real easy to figure out how much fluid to put into a manual transmission. You just fill it until fluid comes out of the fill port. And try not to make a huge mess. Swap over that fork real easy. Just gonna pinch those. That comes out. That comes out. Goes right in here. You got your little pivot pin right there. Right onto there. Put a little grease on that, of course, before you put it all back together. And you just take your clip, stick it right back in those holes. Of course, making sure that the ring, the bearing face, is facing outwards when you put it in. That can now actuate nice and smooth. Bearing still feels brand new. It's only got about 11,000 miles on it, so that'll be all good. Underrated tool, the engine sling. Get it right on the engine lift hook. Start cranking. It'll just lift the nose of that engine right up. And that's going to help me line it up with the transmission. That is the best feeling. When that thing goes in, there's nothing that beats that. It never gets old. So I got all my bolts into the transmission all tightened down. No, there is not a bolt that goes there. There's no threading in there. Next step is going to be to install the slave cylinder on the new trans. Get that up as high as it can go and reinstall the transmission mount. Look at that. I got all four through. It's a little tricky if you're doing it with just one person. What I do is push the mount up into place and then put one bolt through backwards. That'll hold the entire mount in place. Now I can go in here and put the 3 remaining bolts back through, and then take the other one out that I just put in and put it through the correct way. Take this one back out and then put it in the correct way. For the transmission mounts, I like to drop them in and then just barely get that nut started, because as you can see, the stud does not align with where it has to go. You kind of have to move the mount around as the transmission drops down. Oh, that is success right there. Get rid of this jack. All I have to do now is downpipe, shifter, and drive shaft. I felt like it was like almost too easy, like it went too fast. I need to do just a quick wrap job on this downpipe, so I'm not just like throwing bits of fiberglass all over the freeway, and my slave cylinder is actually protected. Oh yeah, always wear gloves, and my fingers just ripped. Always wear gloves when you work with fiberglass wrap, guys, otherwise you will have a bad day, or at least a very itchy one. Quick and dirty, much better than it was before. Let's get this thing in there. Right up in there, no worries. It's getting dark. And okay. I hate that song so much. Okay, last step here is to get the drive shaft in. Go ahead and put it in first gear. Oh, this might be a two-handed operation. There we go. Now I can actually torque down all the drive shaft hardware. Well, that is all she wrote, folks. Everything's installed and we're ready to take this thing for a drive and see how it feels. All right, all the gears work. That's good. Obviously it's not fixed, but I'm just trying to analyze if it's any different at different speeds, if it acts differently. Because the only thing I've changed is the transmission. So if the characteristics change, it's got to be trans-related, I guess. I'm trying to do a poll, but there's a lot of cars in Mexico right now, so I'm not having much luck. I'm sure I'll get some space eventually. Well, that's a wrap for today, ladies and gents. So that's kind of a bummer. I can't really say I'm that surprised. I mean, I pulled out one random high mileage transmission, put another one in, and nothing was fixed. But it was really just the cheapest thing I could try next. So at this point, I don't know if I'm gonna put a ZF transmission in. I could try the ZF with a one piece, and if that doesn't work, I could try the ZF with a custom fabricated two piece. I just don't know. Or I could just say frick the whole thing and put an RX-7 drivetrain in it, which I've thought about for a while. The swap is not very expensive. Maybe I should have done that to begin with. But anyways, just super frustrated. Or maybe I could part the entire car out and push the chassis into the ocean. That's another option. Anyways, I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm sure it's going to be solved eventually. But what I want to know from you guys is, what did you think about this video format? I know it's pretty different, but I do a lot of things to the car where I'm like, it's going to take so much longer. If I do a full production on it, I'm just going to skip it and not make any video. But this video is actually pretty easy to make, and I thought it was kind of fun. So let me know what you guys thought in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.